morning, Kuhner country. Okay, my friends, the jobs report for January came in yesterday, and it was absolutely spectacular. And what is now obviously clear is that the first year of Trump's presidency now obviously is over. We're now in his second year. And as President Trump, Secretary of the Treasury Scott Bessent, Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick have been saying for a long time, they were putting the pieces together, setting the table for an economic renaissance here in the United States. And now we're starting to see the first fruits of this skyrocketing economy, this new Trump economy, that if it continues, I think there's no question will make America the wealthiest, most prosperous country in the world again. So here is now really some excellent news. The jobs report came out yesterday. The liberal media is furious. In fact, they barely reported on it. They're trying to sweep it under the rug because it goes against their entire narrative. And what's their narrative? That Trump is failing on the economic front, that Americans are losing patience with his policies, and that the affordability crisis, as they call it, even though this was clearly caused by Joe Biden, is now an albatross around Trump's neck, and that this affordability issue is the issue that the Democrats vowed they will ride back to power in November. What the jobs report now shows is that this narrative is a lie. It smashes that narrative to 1,000 pieces. First of all, most economists were predicting a jobs report of maybe 55 to 60,000 jobs created. It turned out the January jobs report not only exceeded expectations, it more than doubled what those expectations were. It created 130,000 jobs. So the economy now is roaring. That's number one. But if you dig a little deeper, it's even bigger and better than that. Because what the numbers now show, and again, these are numbers by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. So this isn't some think tank or website. This is straight from the government itself, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, in which the economy, the private sector, created over 172,000 jobs. So many of you are going to be saying, well, Jeff, if the private sector, i.e. the private economy, churned out an incredible 172,000 jobs, why doesn't the jobs report say 172,000 new jobs were created? Because, and this is the key, 42,000 jobs were lost, shredded, cut, eliminated, whatever word you want to use, from the federal government and local and state governments. In other words, 34,000 from the federal government, 8,000 from local and state governments. In other words, government jobs shrank, contracted by 42,000. This is exactly what Trump wanted. This was his vision, to privatize the economy, to shrink the bloated, corrupt public sector, i.e. it began with Doge and cutting so many jobs that were waste, fraud, and abuse. And what you're starting to see now is you're shrinking the government, which, by the way, spends a lot of our money, regulates business, regulates everyday life. These aren't wealth-creating jobs. These are soul-sucking, wealth-sucking jobs. You don't want a big, bloated, fat private sector with government employees. You want a lean, mean public sector, the fewest jobs possible, and the private sector. That's where you want the jobs to be growing and exploding. And that's exactly now what's taking place. So Trump is now cutting a lot of the fat, the waste, the fraud, the abuse in the public sector, in the government, in these government jobs, And the private sector is now starting to skyrocket. Now, on top of all of this, not only do we have low inflation and high economic growth, which is now going to really set the table for the rest of the year, but wages now are starting to outpace inflation. To put it in plain English, not only now are there more jobs, not only is the economy starting to boom, but people's wages, per capita wages, working people, middle class people are starting to see more money in their pocket, and the money in their pocket is growing much faster than the low rate of inflation, which is exactly what you want. You want people to have more money, so the more money they have, that'll offset the high prices that were imposed upon us by Joey. So what you have now is you're starting to see now the middle and working class. Now it's going to take some time, but you're starting to see the middle and working class now getting slowly but surely richer. Their jobs are becoming more secure. You're starting to see more economic opportunity, and you're starting to see inflation and the cost of living begin to go down. Gas prices are definitely going down. I tanked up $2.55. $2.55. It was over $4 under Biden. So there's no question when you're at the gas pump, you can feel the cost of living is going down. Things are becoming more affordable. This is starting now to bleed into food. Prices there have stabilized with the exception of a few things like beef. But overall, cost of food is now stable, if not slightly cheaper. So what we're now seeing, it's going to take time. Remember, I said this. Reagan inherited a mess. The economy under Reagan, remember, he wins in 1980. He's sworn in January 1981. He gets his big tax cuts passed, in early 1981. The economy really didn't begin to take off until 1983. So it takes time to turn around a disastrous economy like what we inherited from Joe Biden. But we're starting to see now that all the indicators show upward and onward. You've got a booming economy. You've got jobs being created now at a really high pace. You've got low inflation. You've got wages growing, and not just wages growing and more take-home pay, but they're outpacing inflation. So slowly but surely, the Trump economic boom is starting to solidify. This is what the Democrats fear the most. Because if the economy really begins to skyrocket, really begins to take off, and you're going to see this probably by the spring, certainly by the summer, with the tariffs now bringing in record revenue, with trillions of dollars being invested in manufacturing. By the way, 5,000 new manufacturing jobs created in the last January jobs report, 33,000 construction jobs. So houses are starting to get built. The more homes that get built, prices will begin to go down. Housing will become more affordable. What you're seeing now is slowly but surely the rebuilding of the American economy, the trillions of dollars in investment that Trump has been able to bring in is starting now to really pay massive dividends. And so my question to you, what do you make now of this incredible jobs report, of the underlying strength in our economy, in wages, low inflation? Are we starting to feel, and are you starting to see the economy really turn around, not just for the stock market and Wall Street? And by the way, the stock market record high. If you've got investments in the stock market, you're making money. So the stock market is booming. Inflation is low. The economic growth now is getting higher and higher and higher. Jobs are now churning out. We're clicking on all cylinders. My question to you, 617-266-6868. Do you feel in your life, is the economy getting better? Are you starting to see more money in your pocket? Economically, are you doing better now than, say, a year ago when Trump was inaugurated? And if not, tell me why not. And if so, please tell me why. I can tell you, I'm starting to do better now than a year ago. Things are coming down. I just mentioned gas, $2.55 a gallon. I drive all the time into Boston, or Medford to be more precise. So that helps me a lot. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, lines are jammed. And you know what I say? The moment the lines are jammed, Kuhner Man starts taking calls. Just to be fair, I think one of the reasons why the media is underreporting, dramatically underreporting, this incredible January jobs report. And clearly now we're in the midst, or if not in the midst, at the beginning of the Trump economic boom. All the indicators now point this economy now is a rocket ship, and it's starting to take off. Yes, the liberal media don't want to give Trump any credit whatsoever. They want to try to convince Americans that we're in a recession, that they've never had it so bad, that in fact it's even worse than it was under Biden. So this has been their goal because they want to get the Democrats elected and have them win the midterm elections. But the Nancy Guthrie story it's saturation. I've never seen anything like this. I mean, it's all speculation. They have very little hard evidence. They haven't arrested a suspect. It's wall-to-wall, 24/7 saturation coverage. They got this former Secret Service guy talking. They've got former law enforcement, former police officers. It could be this. It could be that. I mean, I've never seen such irresponsible tabloid journalism on display for such a long period of time. I feel very sorry for this woman. I feel very sorry for Savannah Guthrie. I hope Nancy Guthrie is found alive. Please don't mistake me. I don't want you to misunderstand me. But I mean, you would think this is the only story in the world. It's not. There are so many other stories, i.e., that the economy now is doing much better and people's lives are doing much better thanks to Trump's policies. That's no small thing. That's your ability to get a job. That's your ability to put food on the table. That's your ability to pay your bills. That's your ability to, feed your family. I don't know what's more important than that, to be honest with you. Now, what is also remarkable, and this is the last thing I'm going to say because I want to go to the phones, is that all of this is happening in the midst of these mass deportations. Now, I don't want to turn this into the business morning show, but what economists are all pointing out, and they're right, is that the sanctuary cities and sanctuary jurisdictions, their economic model is based on high migration, low growth. Okay? In other words, low wage, my bad. High migration, low wage. They want cheap labor. So a lot of business people, a lot of employers are hiring based on the fact that they can pay these illegals basically peanuts, whatever, 10, 12 bucks an hour, whatever, $8 an hour, and then have them absorb all of these taxpayer benefits, and then they go out and spend all of these taxpayer benefits. Okay, so that's what's keeping the local economies going. Well, now Trump has disrupted all of this, and I'm good. But what I'm saying is now by deporting all of these illegals, as they get deported, there's less money for them to get in terms of welfare to spend. That hurts the economy. These illegals were getting jobs that now are not being filled. So that's hurting a lot of these businesses who rely on cheap labor. So what's amazing is that the economy now is still booming, despite the fact that you have these mass deportations and this massive disruption in the economies of Boston, of Minneapolis, of Chicago, of New York, of Portland, of L.A., which is based on illegal immigrants and cheap, low-wage labor. By the way, the more illegals leave, the more rental units are available. That's why rents now have stabilized. And in fact, the cost of rent is going down. The cost of housing is going down. It's incredible what happens when you start, deporting millions and millions of illegals from our country. And the most important part of all is that wages now are going up. Why? Because you can't hire cheap illegal aliens to undercut American workers. So now you got to hire American workers. And if you're going to hire American workers, you got to pay them more. And so if you pay them more, guess what? They're taking home more money. So it's all coming together beautifully. And we just need this to keep going month after month after month. And by the time this thing rolls into September, October, November, it's going to be bye-bye to the Democrats. Agree, disagree. Paul in Weymouth. Thanks for holding, Paul, and welcome.
Hey, Jeff. Thank you for taking my call.
My pleasure.
Every morning. But today, I'm going to have to disagree with you, buddy.
Okay, go ahead, Paul.
My biggest bill that I have in my life is the United States government. They take and take and take, and you can't get ahead. And that's the reality. I don't care what gas prices are. I don't care what rent prices are. Get out of my pocket. I want to share this with you, Jeff. I do plowing for the job that I work at, property management, okay? I had 107 hours of overtime with all these storms that we had, right? The government took almost $2,000 from my paycheck.
That's disgusting.
That's disgusting, Jeff. And now, in my life, right, my average day life, Jeff, I live conservatively. I don't overspend. I try to conserve, save my money. I have a family to take care of, right, a wife, kids, right? And the government took $2,000 from me in one swipe. Jeff, I make $1,700 every 2 weeks. I make $1,700 every 2 weeks, Jeff. You took a paycheck from me. And what did you do to deserve that paycheck? Nothing. What was my heat bill this last period? It was $500. Jeff, I keep my heat on at 60. I'm freezing. My family's freezing.
Well, Paul, look, you're right. Don't get me wrong. The energy costs, the energy bills are outrageous, okay? They're disgusting. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, I hope Paul in Weymouth is still listening. The other thing I wanted to say, Paul, is, you talked about working overtime, working so hard, and they're taking $2,000, out of your paycheck. And as Paul was saying, he makes $1,700 every 2 weeks. So basically, they took a full paycheck, in fact, and even more than a full paycheck, which, as I said to him, was disgusting. The good news is that this year, the one big, beautiful bill takes effect, which means no tax on tips and no tax on overtime. So you're most likely, Paul, talk to your accountant or whatever, however you do your taxes, but, you're probably going to get a massive, and I mean massive, refund check. If you go, if you do your taxes with H&R Block or whatever, you're probably going to get a massive refund check. And that's the other thing Scott Bessent is saying. He says, you watch in the spring when those refund checks start coming, people are going to say, oh, I'm going to put, that's a nice big fat check. That's a lot of spending money. The people are going to really start to feel it when those refund checks start coming in a couple of months. Now, very, very quickly, Massachusetts, for many reasons, primarily because it's such a radical Democrat state, is a very high cost of living state. It's a very expensive state. Everything is expensive. Okay, everything. Homes are expensive. Rents are expensive. Energy is outrageous. Insurance is expensive. Everything is. Taxes are high. Everything is expensive here. Now, not so much in the rest of the country. Let me just give you an example. Larry, our own Larry, used to be from Leominster. It's now Larry in Arkansas. So he's in Arkansas. Listen to this in Arkansas. Jeff, $3.18 for premium, $2.28 for regular. Good God. Oh, man, I'd love to see $2.28. I fantasize about $2.28 for a regular gallon of gas. Now, he says, in Arkansas anyway, and this is what Larry wrote to me on Messenger. Jeff, every time I see a Democrat in Congress say that life is too expensive, I point out how in my red state we're flourishing. I just have internet, no cable. I went from $113.99, okay, basically $114, let's not quibble, for Xfinity to $69.99 for my fiber internet here. Wow. I pay less on groceries, much less on energy. All around, it's much cheaper here than in Massachusetts. I think that's most of the country, Larry. Honestly, I don't think it's just Arkansas. But it's true. It's a hell of a lot cheaper in Arkansas than it is here. And in most red states, and even in most purple states, it's a hell of a lot less cheaper. So, to be fair, there's only so much Trump can do. We do live in a federal system. Some things the federal government's not responsible for, and some of it falls on the hands of the governors and the states and the state legislatures. And the outrageous energy bills, for example, that we get, that's on Maura Healey. There's nothing Trump can do about that. Outside of what he's doing with gas. And he says gas is going to continue to go down. And as gas continues to go down, you're going to see prices in general are going to start to go down as well. 617-266-6868. Agree, disagree. Vince in Deutschland, in Germany. Thanks for holding, Vince. And as always, welcome.
Thanks, Jeff. I kindly disagree with you. And
first Paul, now you. All right, go ahead, my friend.
Well, I'm over here in Europe, so I just see what I see, right? And, of course, the news I get is more selective because I have to search for it, But, everything here is the Olympics and Epstein. They're talking about Epstein because it's literally bringing down the entire British government. And heads are ready to roll, and they say that Prince Andrew may be served up for prison, Like Prince Charles is ready to, just cut his losses, cut his brother away, cut bait. He's ready to cut bait. But, the whole Mrs. Guthrie there, I was like, who's that? Arlo Guthrie's mom? I didn't know, right? I was like, Samantha Guthrie. But then they said, her husband worked for the Clintons, so go figure, right? I would look there first. I'd look under the Clintons' bed. That's where I'd look for Mrs. Guthrie. But anyway, I digress. Trump.
We lost. Vince, something happened. Obviously you're in Germany, but try to call us back, Vince, because I want to get you to finish your call. 617, we just lost you for some reason. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, I didn't get a chance to hear, Vince, why he thinks the economy is not turning around or why it's not getting better for ordinary average Americans. So I want to ask you, latest jobs report out, exceeded expectations, more than doubled what people thought. 130,000 jobs, overwhelmingly in the private sector. So construction jobs up, manufacturing up, health, social services, social assistance up. So the private economy now is starting to really churn up and generate jobs. Inflation is coming down. We're starting to see some strong indicators now. Manufacturing is starting to come back. Trillions of dollars are now being invested in the U.S. economy. Are we now seeing the Trump economic boom? And are you beginning to feel it? Anthony in Michigan. So far, Kuhner Country says no. First two callers. Anthony in Michigan. Thanks for holding, Anthony, and welcome.
As always, in the words of Ronald Reagan, you ain't seen nothing yet. Let me explain. So I follow a lot of people that probably Kuhner Country I've never even heard of. One is Randy Kirk and the other is Larry Goldberg. They're part of the Tesla tuber people on YouTube that follow the company exclusively, and they're businessmen for years. Randy said this job report was going to be over 130. He nailed it. They're predicting 6 to 7% GDP this year, and on a long shot, 10%. I want you to wrap your head around that. I don't understand Rasmussen and Barris. They're so negative on the Republican candidates this fall. But if this economy kicks in, I don't see how they lose. So you're right. The big, beautiful bill is going to give us lower tax rates and 100% expensing on plant and equipment. That's going to go crazy. So true inflation, have you ever heard of it?
You mean what's true inflation?
It's an actual website run by a bunch of lefties, and they're absolutely killing it on terms of nailing what the actual inflation rate. The Fed's saying inflation somewhere between 3.8 and 2.6. They actually have us in a deflationary mode, Jeff, which means Powell really dropped the ball. So I want to give you two things to keep your eye on. The big three is profit sharing. Stellantis came out. I don't know if Ford's out yet. And I want you to keep an eye on California. They're closing 2 refineries. Their gas is going to go ballistic. I'm hearing $1.20 a gallon. So I want to put this out there long term in terms of the Trump economy. This is on top of him invoking Trump RX, which the diabetic community is lowering their cost of insulin dramatically. And I want you to think about this. Elon has said that once the bots kick in and they're able to work in plants, et cetera, he's expecting a GDP of 100. Some people have calculated that what that could increase our cash flow and the size of our economy per year. They're talking 17, 18 trillion, if not higher. Jeff, we could pay off the deficit. I'm looking out over the horizon 3, 5, 10 years. Are you kidding me? This is Pax Americana, dude.
Well, no, Anthony, look, Elon is telling everybody, he goes, watch, exactly what you're saying. They're going to be adding now trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars of wealth to the economy. Okay, you may not have even heard about this. It was absolutely phenomenal economic news, and it's all been lost. I mean, buried under the Nancy Guthrie coverage and, of course, the media trying to cover it up. But the January jobs report is in, and it was a smash. Even liberal economists had to concede. It was twice the level of expectations. It exceeded their expectations. All of those that were peddling doom and gloom, the doom mongers, the doomcasters, saying that the Trump economy was flat on its back, that the affordability issue was eating away at him, that Trump was going to go economically wobbling and hobbled into the midterm elections, now say that this is one of the most impressive jobs report in a very long time. And the underlying conditions of the economy look extremely strong. Now, I want to ask you, is the economy starting to turn around in your view? And are you feeling it personally in your life? Or is the economy still bad for you? Whether it's the cost of gas, energy, food, housing, rent, insurance, all across the board. Is cost of living going up or is it going down? And do you have more money in your pocket? 617-266-6868. Okay, we got him back. Vince in Deutschland, in Germany. Vince, I'm happy you called back. Now, you're a nay on this. You don't think the economy is doing that well. Please, why? And what do you think Trump's big mistakes? If he's made mistakes, what do you think they've been? on the economy. Go ahead, Vince.
Well, there's nothing to do with the economy, Jeff. It's all about Epstein and the perp walks. And you heard it yesterday with Pam Bondi. She threw that little hissy fit about the Dow at 50,000. Wake up, people. This is what's important. It was like unbelievable. It was so telling when she said that. I was just like, wow. Wow. And I know the country's afflicted with normalcy bias, you know what I mean? So they're just like, what is so out of control, out of the ordinary is normal. It's totally normal. Like, no one's surprised by it. But, you know, it all comes down to voter enthusiasm, Jeff, right? And unless people are enthusiastic, they're not going to show up to vote. And it's all about the base showing up to vote. And the base is not happy with Trump. So Trump can sit there and talk all about the Dow. The average person doesn't invest in the Dow.
Vince, it's not on our end. Mike, that wasn't you. It's his Wi-Fi messing up. Okay, Vince, we're not trying to censor you. That was on your end. Apparently, when Vince called back, he did tell Mike, he said, listen, I'm having Wi-Fi problems. So please don't think we're censoring Vince, because that's the last thing we're doing. So, but basically, in a nutshell, what Vince is saying is Trump can talk the economy all he wants. The fact of the matter is Vince believes that the base is not going to turn out for him in November. They don't have the same enthusiasm. And one of the reasons, among others, is the lack of full transparency when it comes to the Epstein files, the lack of arrests, Pam Bondi as Attorney General, that in some ways Trump has overpromised and underdelivered. In essence, that's Vince's argument. Agree, disagree, 617-266-6868. Dane in the Freedom State, Florida. Thanks for holding, Dane, and welcome.
Thank you, Jeff. First of all, let me speak as though I were in a confessional, as you say. Okay, last year at this exact same time, and this is the honest to God's truth, I was laying in South Dakota at the Kuhner Stone Missions Mission on a rubber mat. Okay, things were devastating for me financially, physically, everything, mentally. Okay, let's advance today. Today I'm in Florida. I have a job that pays extremely well, and 50% of my income, guess what, comes from tips, which now I'm not going to have to pay tax on. God bless American Trump for this, okay? I have a car again. I didn't have a car then. I lost my car. It was broken down. Last year, I didn't have a place to rent. I got a place to rent now. I'm living in a legitimate, nice home where I rent a room. Very nice. Things have changed so much for me that it's like from night to day. Okay, I credit this for Trump for, first of all, getting American psyche, okay, my mental state alone when he got in office changed. That changed. So when that changed, my situation changed. And what he said, he started producing on, like this tax for no tips. Do you know how important that is for me as an income? Okay, I will let anybody see my tax return from last year and compare it when I get it this year. He's talking about getting a 2000 stimulus, which will be like manna from heaven for me. And everything is changing. Okay, because Trump's changing the mentality and the mental state of the people. Because before, Biden was so dismal, so evil, it put you and myself and everybody in a state of mind, you couldn't go forward. There was no hope for you. There's hope now. There's some inspiration. He is changing. The statistics don't lie. The truth doesn't lie. So for me, God bless him.
Well, you know, by the way, I got to say, Dane, that's just a very inspiring call, a very inspiring story. I'm very sorry what happened to you last year. I really am. So, you know, you basically went from being homeless, carless, essentially moneyless, and you moved from South Dakota. You're now in Florida. You're fully employed. You're making good money. You've got a car. You've got a home. I mean, a rental apartment, but you got a roof over your head. You're back on your feet, and you're starting to really, you're moving forward. I mean, you're back. Dane is back, and you're going to get a big refund check. I'm telling you, man, you're going to get a big refund check. So it's just going to get better and better and better. And look, that's, I kept saying this, give the guy time. He's got the right policies, and you nailed it, Dane. Deregulation, his tariffs, I don't care what the media says, the tariffs have been very effective in reshoring a lot of jobs, bringing in trillions, and I mean trillions of dollars in investment. They're building plants, they're building factories, they're building data centers. They're the wealth is coming back to the United States. And our taxes now are going to come down, and we're going to see massive economic growth. And if you could just get rid of Jerome Powell, that's the last piece. This guy has been killing us. And get Kevin Warsh, who's going to be Trump's pick to be the next Fed chair. Get Warsh in there and drive down those interest rates. And, I mean, you're going to see this thing. It's going to be a rocket ship. So, people are going to start borrowing again. They're going to start buying homes. The American dream is going to start getting back within reach. So all we got to do now, the last piece is Jerome Powell. And once we get rid of that loser, we're on a roll. And there's no question in my mind, Dane, Powell deliberately kept the interest rates as high as possible in order to sabotage Trump's economic recovery. Well, that's going to go now, and what is it, a month or two? Whatever it is, he's going to be gone. Warsh is going to be in, and we're going to be clicking on all cylinders. So, Dane, I'm convinced not only is it morning again in America, but the best is yet to come. And by the way, Anthony in Michigan is right. Elon came out and said, you have no idea now the advancements that are being made, not just in AI, but in the new tech sector, in massive investments in the economy. We're looking at trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars in growth. So, Trump, the businessman, you know what he's saying? The business of America is business. And when you've got a president like that, get ready, because the economy is going to roar. Dane, thank you so much for that call, and I'm so happy you're doing much better, my friend. Jake in Gloucester, thanks for holding, Jake, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff.
Hi, Jake.
Hi, Jeff. Jeff, if God himself appeared at Times Square and the media did not report on that, what good is it? What good is it? You and I agree on the economy. I agree with everything you said about the economy because we follow these things. The average person doesn't. And I'm going to insist on your optimism being way too optimistic, because right now, I know polls, I could care less about polls now, but Trump's down like in the congressional thing for this coming year, 36% because of the lies. The national media, 95% of the media is still trashing Trump every day, every second, every week. So what good is all this optimism if, number one, the average person who's working doesn't understand this, and he's being fed a bunch of lies? They're still trying to kill him on Epstein and talking about the tariffs killing the economy when everything is a lie. What good is it? Because we live for 10 years now for trashing Trump. And look what the guy did. He came back twice. And I'll tell you what, Jeff, he's done more for the economy than I thought he would. I thought it would take off very slowly. The guy's incredible. He knows what to do. But if he's facing an onslaught of 90% negativity, let me ask you something. Do you think this year's congressional elections are going to go to the Republicans if this continues? I don't care how well the economy does. The average person doesn't follow this like you and me in your college. They just don't. And I hear it. You hear it on social media. You do social media. I don't. And you hear the lies every day, every single day. They just make stuff up. And there are enough stupid people out there that believe it. They don't see reality. You look at these cities, Jeff, across the country. You got L.A., Seattle, Chicago. They're becoming socialist. totally socialist. The powers that be, the globalists around the world, have set these people up, including New York City, to run these cities and slowly going to run the states. And their goal 10 or 15 years from now is to run the country. That's what they're doing. And so what good... Jeff, do you remember three or 4 years ago when Sleepy Joe was the nominal president and the media came out and said the stock market just hit 40,000? They went crazy. They were so, look at it, takes a Democrat to get to 40,000. Republicans can never do this. It's at 50,000 now. What's the media doing? They might mention it, but not with glee, with sadness, because they want the country to fail. They would rather we go under and collapse than keep Trump in office, and they're still trying their best to get him out. So how do you feel about this, Jeff? The media, in my opinion, is the problem. These lies is the problem. And I don't know how we're going to overcome it, because we haven't overcome it. People who love Trump are not going to come out in November for the most part. They'll come out in 28 and vote Republican, but if Trump loses the House, it's going to be 2 years of hell. 2 years of hell with Hakeem Jeffries as the Speaker of the House? You got to be kidding me. Hakeem Jeffries, who lies every time he opens his stupid mouth. Chuck Schumer is not the leader of the Senate. John Thune is. Jeff, where's John Thune? Where's Johnson? All I see is Chuck Schumer trashing Trump. Schumer is not the leader of the Senate. He's the leader of the Democrats, but where's John Thune? I never see him. Where is he?
That's a great point. That's a great point. Look, and it's that. I think it's that. In the end, look, I'm honestly, Jake, I'm still optimistic about the midterms for several reasons. But if we do lose the midterms, okay, I don't think we will. But if we do lose the midterms, you're dead on. It was the weak, feckless, cowardly, yellow-livered leadership from Thune to Mike Johnson that clearly, to me, cost us the midterms. And maybe even blew up Trump's. Because you're right. If the Democrats come back and take back the House and maybe even the Senate, they're going to blow up Trump's presidency. It's going to be political war. And that's what they want. They want political war. It's going to be impeachment after impeachment, investigation after investigation, sabotage after sabotage. So it's going to be all-out political civil war if the Democrats take back power. And you're right about the media. It's doom and gloom. Many people believe the lies of the media. That's a big weapon that the left has. All I'm saying is this, Jake. Yes, they can talk down the economy. That's true. But when you get that big refund check, when you got a lot more money in your pocket, when inflation continues to stay at 2%, when gas keeps going down and down and down, to eventually $2 a gallon, when the economy is growing not at 2%, which is good, but 3, 4, 5%, when you've got the private sector now turning out hundreds of thousands of jobs every single month, when housing costs start coming down, when your rent starts coming down, when all of these things begin to happen, you're going to say to yourself, I don't care what the media says. I'm doing better. I'm doing a hell of a lot better. And so I think that's where Trump can then come in and close the deal and sell his economic package and say, look, I'm delivering. And if the Democrats come to power, all of this is going to get wiped out. Do you want more take-home pay? Vote for the Republicans. You want more tax cuts? Vote for Republicans. You want lower gas? Vote for Republicans. You want lower food and groceries? Vote for Republicans. You want to see rent and housing continue to go down? Vote for Republicans. You want to see crime continue to go down and the crime rates? By the way, what the media is not reporting, Jake, in many major cities now, this is an unbelievable statistic. Crime rates are the lowest they've been in 100 years, a century, not half a century, not a quarter century, a full century, because of what Trump has done deploying the National Guard, say, in Washington, D.C., or because of these mass deportations with ICE. So many violent, illegal aliens are being deported, gangbangers, murderers, drug traffickers. So, Trump's going to have a very strong case to make come the fall. As long as the Republicans can hold the line, they've got to pass the SAVE Act. If they can prevent the Democrats from fraud and cheating, then I think we've got a very strong hand. And that goes back to your point about John Thune. Thune now is wanting to wave the white flag on the SAVE Act. And the answer is no. I don't care what it takes. We're going to have a vote on the SAVE Act, and Trump is going to sign that thing into law. Because if the Democrats can't cheat, it's over. It's over. They can't win, even with the media lying for them. So that's why I've been saying we got to work on Thune. The only thing that matters now is the SAVE Act. I'm not trying to poo-poo other things. There are other important things as well. But if we get the SAVE Act passed, it's the ball game. If you got to show proof of citizenship to register to vote, if you've got to show photo ID to vote, if illegal aliens and non-citizens are going to be taken off all of the voter rolls of the states, they're going to be compelled, mandated. Yeah, the Democrats will still find a way to cheat, but not like they've been cheating in the last elections. It's going to eliminate 80 to 90% of the Democrats' voter fraud. And without that voter fraud, they're finished. They're not. This country is not a communist country. I don't believe it. And in a way, it's great that Mamdani's in power because now they're really seeing communism in action. The trash is still not being picked up. They still haven't plowed the streets. New York City is being buried under a mountain of trash. Homeless people, 20 now, have died, frozen to death in the cold. It's going from disaster to disaster to disaster. You now have his own supporters saying that they regret having voted for him. I mean, aye. So bring it on. If I'm Trump, you want Mamdani? You want New York for the whole country? Is that what you want? So either more prosperity, more take-home pay, more money in your pocket, more safe streets, more law and order, or you can have Mamdani. You want to live in filth and garbage and rats? And by the way, I swear to you, you couldn't make this up. New York Post, take a look at it. They now have massive encampments in New York City, especially in places like the Bronx, where now they're dumping their feces. Forgive me, it's in the morning. I'm not trying to make you throw up your breakfast. They're dumping their feces and urine right onto the streets that the residents say it stinks. There's poop and pee, pardon me, everywhere. So when I say they're literally living in filth and squalor, they're literally living in filth and squalor. Now, Bill in Sudbury will vote for that. Chris in Gloucester will vote for that. But most normal, sane people, they're not going to vote for that. That's the only way they do it is if they cheat. You stop the cheating, and this thing is over. Jake, as always, passion. I love your passion, and I love your analysis. Thank you for that call. Bill in Raynham. Thanks for holding, Bill, and welcome.
My call.
Hi, Bill. Go ahead.
Hey, I'm just making a couple of points. The heating costs. I'm a senior. I'm retired. I was on heating assistance the past couple of years. That's gone down 33%. I'm blaming this on Heat Pump Haley. Is she skimming money off the heating assistance funds? My guess, yes. Oil's gone up about $1 a gallon over the past month. If you're retired, collecting Social Security, that's a big hit. And my question is, where'd that 33% go? And then another thing, I did my taxes last night. And historically, I'm paying $3,000 a year in taxes on my Social Security. This year, basically.
Bill, hang on. I promise I'm going to come right back to you. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, stunning and positively stunning jobs report yesterday, smashing all expectations. In fact, more than doubled expectations. 130,000 jobs created in January, but that doesn't even come close to telling the full story. 172,000 jobs in the private sector were created, and 42,000 jobs, mostly in the federal government, were lost. Meaning they're cutting the fat, they're cutting the waste, fraud, and abuse. The economy is getting privatized. It's no longer being driven by Washington for Washington, and bureaucrats with their cushy positions, cushy jobs. This is a private sector driven economy, lean, mean, very productive, low inflation. And if this continues, we are looking now at maybe a banner year. 617-266-6868. So my question to all of you before I go back to Bill and Raynham, the Trump economy. Trump now says, in the wake of this new jobs report, the American golden age has now arrived. Do you agree? And are you feeling it in your own life? Are your economic circumstances getting better, say, than a year ago? Are they better? Are they worse? Or are they basically the same? Okay, let's go to Bill in Raynham. Bill is a senior citizen. He is retired. He's on a fixed income like most senior citizens are. And he says, look, he's getting killed by high energy costs. Heat pump Healy is killing him. She's killing me. I think she's killing all of us. And he also now pays taxes on Social Security. And then we got cut off. Bill, please pick up where you left off.
Okay, yeah. I did my wife did the taxes last night, and like I said, I'm historically paying right around $3,000 a year tax on my Social Security, and it pretty much came out. Now I'm paying $2,100. So I'm not blaming Trump for this. I'm blaming Congress for this, for hacking and chewing up what he promised. No tax on Social Security. It's far from it. Far from it. I'm still paying taxes on Social Security. And believe me, I'm not getting a lot from Social Security. That and the fuel assistance was cut 33% the past 2 years. And I'm thinking, well, maybe she took some skimmer off the top and gave it to her illegal family. So we got the deck stacked against us living in Massachusetts. And, other parts of the country may be doing well, but here living in this state under her Marxist rule, we're still... We'll put it in Warren's terms. We're getting hammered here, and the deck is stacked against us.
Bill, let me be brutally honest with you, like I'm in the confessional. Okay, as I like to say, I don't want to humor you. I'm not going to stand there and pretend that what's happening is not happening. Maura Healey has put a target, an economic target, on your back and on millions of people like you in this state, including myself, and frankly, most of this audience. The only three groups of people that benefit from Maura Healey, and this is who she's catering to, are the corrupt politicians and Democrats on Beacon Hill and in her administration. So basically political cronies. They're stealing, they're robbing, they're lining their pockets, they're swimming and drowning in corruption. It's disgusting. By the way, that's why they don't want the state audit. Okay? That's number one. Number two, if you're on welfare, then she's your gal. If you're a lazy, do-nothing bum who wants to sit around all day, watch, I used to say Jerry Springer, Mike laughs at me, apparently he's been off the air for whatever. Watch the Olympics, okay? And get stoned and do nothing, and you're an able-bodied person, then and you just don't want to work, okay, because you're, as my dad used to call him, you're a sponge, you're a bum, then she's great. I'm telling you, she's wonderful because she takes from the productive and gives to the unproductive. She takes from the tax makers and gives them to the tax takers. But the biggest clientele are the illegal aliens because they get everything. They get home heating assistance. You want to know why yours was cut from heat pump? Because she's got to give it all to the illegals. So they get the EBT cards. They get the free housing. They get the free education, the free health care, the prepaid Visa cards and debit cards. They get free computers. You name it, they get it. They get driver's licenses, and really, they vote. It's pretty clear they vote. And they vote in big numbers. And they vote so they can keep taking from you and taking from me and taking from us to give to the illegals, to give to themselves. And you're right, Mike. The no tax deduction thing is, in fact, a huge tax deduction. But the point is just this, Bill. Maura Healey caters to three constituencies: corrupt Democrats, okay, the hacks, welfare deadbeats, and the biggest one, that's their base, the illegal aliens. And once people understand that, then you understand everything. Her job, her power rests, forgive me, on screwing you and screwing me and screwing us. Literally coming into our pocket, taking money out of our pocket. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, this is from our own Sandy. Sandy Shack wanted me to relay this to all of you, and especially to Bill, who we just got off the phone with before the break. The no taxes on Social Security, this is what Sandy told me, is in the form of a $6,000 tax deduction if you are on Social Security. So, in other words, you get up to $6,000 of a deduction on your Social Security taxes. And so Sandy recommends to Bill that his wife should ask a tax professional. So, you're right. It's not no tax on Social Security because eventually you do pay tax on Social Security. But the first $6,000 you can deduct, which is nice. It's nice. I mean, it's better than nothing. That's for sure. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay. In the wake of the jobs report yesterday, which even Trump's most vehement critics admit was an incredibly impressive jobs report, and some of the economic fundamentals now in terms of low inflation, much higher productivity, the private sector booming. I could go on and on. Trump now has issued a statement saying that America's golden age is finally upon us. In other words, the Trump economic boom has begun. My question to you, the Kuhner Country poll question of the day, sponsored by Mario's. Mario's quality roofing, siding, and windows. Has President Trump followed through on his economic campaign promises? Let me ask it one more time. Has President Trump followed through on his economic campaign promises? A, yes. B, no. You can vote on our webpage, WRKO.com/Kuhner, WRKO.com/Kuhner, KUHN is in national ER. You can also vote via X. And yes, I was very active on X last night. My handle there, all one word, KUHNER, at the Kuhner Report, at the Kuhner Report, KUHNER. What Trump said he was going to do was slash taxes. To me, check. I mean, we're going to see it in a couple of months, but the big, beautiful bill kicks in this year. Has he cut taxes? Yes. Tariffs? Yes. Deregulation? Yes. No tax on tips? Yes. No tax on overtime? Yes. No tax on Social Security? $6,000 you can deduct? Half. Yes and no. Kind of, sort of, not really, but got something. So I personally am a yes on this poll question. But that's me. I want to hear from you. 617-266-6868. And let me throw this small log on the fire. And I'm not criticizing Mike. In fact, it's the opposite. I love Mike like a younger brother. I really do. I have nothing but affection for Mike. He's a great board operator, great employee, great assistant producer. He's so reliable. He's money in the bank. And I'm telling you, for a man of 26 years of age in this business, that's a rare thing. I'm telling you this right now. But I just had an interesting conversation with him, both this break and the previous break. And so I asked Mike, I said, Mike, hey, how would you answer this question? You're better off, say from a year ago. You're better off, you're worse off, the same. He goes, the same. I said, Mike, what do you mean the same? Like aren't prices lower for you? And he said, yeah, when I go pump up, sure. When I go tank up my car and I'm at the gas pump, yeah, gas is down. It used to be way over $3 a gallon under Biden. It's now $2.65. So sure, I'm paying less. Yeah, eggs are lower. Yeah, a lot of food. Yeah, sure, grocery shopping. Yeah, things are lower. Yeah, overall things are lower. So I said, well, if things are lower, how come you don't say, things have improved for you since last year? Why is, hold on, Mike. Why are you just saying no difference? I mean, like money in your pocket, that you don't like having extra money in your pocket, Mike? And he just kind of shrugs his shoulders. And I said, well, no, Mike, but why don't you give Trump the credit that he deserves? I mean, you're saving money. Maybe you'd like to save more money. I get that. But you're saving money. Things are cheaper for you. You admit it, but you won't give him any credit. And his answer to me was, well, that's just par for the course. That's how it is with Trump. He gets dumped on no matter what, so I might as well dump on him as well. So
I never said that.
What do you mean you never said that, Mike? What are you're backtracking now from your statement, Mike?
Yeah, this is a complete farce.
A complete
farce. I only
farce.
mentioned the gas prices.
All right, but Mike, your gas prices, are they lower? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. So why? Yes. So why won't you give? Why is when I say is your life better or worse economically, your answer is the same. Does that compute, Mike? Hold on. Now you're saying you were wrong. You were wrong to not give it that kind of thing. You're not on the air right now. No, I know you're not on the air right now, Mike. I just don't understand why you won't give Trump the credit that he deserves, Mike. To me, then, if I'm paying less for gas and everything else is cheaper, so now you're saying he does deserve credit. And hold on, Mike. Are you saying, so you're saying it is better for you now? Mike, I've lost Mike. It's like when all right, it's like talking to Bill in Sudbury. You know what I mean? It's like, hello. After a while, hello. All right. Anyway, you see, this is the problem with Trump. I'm not criticizing Mike. I'm not picking on him. I'm like, he acknowledges things are better. Things have gotten cheaper. Do I have more money in my pocket? Yes. Okay, so would you say things are better for you? No, the same. But how are they the same? You could say they're a little better. I wish they were better, like more better. Okay. But you see, more money in his pocket, things are cheaper from gas to groceries and other things, but it's still the same. That's what I don't get, because that's what the polls are reflecting. And it's that disconnect. Is it because we had such high expectations? And so when we see things getting slowly better, we're like, nah, I expected more. Is that what it is? Anyway, I want to hear from you. Justin in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Justin, and welcome. Hello, Justin. All right, I think we lost Justin. David in Ashland? No, Dave in Reading. Okay, Dave in Reading. Thanks for holding, Dave, and welcome.
Hey, good morning, Jeff. Thanks for taking my call.
My pleasure, Dave.
So yeah, I'm definitely doing better this year. I mean, I made more money. I got a raise. But I wanted to mention, no tax on overtime. I don't know about the tips, but I know on overtime is like the Social Security. It's a deduction, and I believe my brother's a CPA. He does all this crap, but it tops out at $12,500, which is great. Don't get me wrong. That's going to give me more money, save me money. But I made like $38,000 in overtime, so it could be better. But again, all these negative people, all these people say, well, they don't want to vote because of this. It's like, so you're going to hand it back to the people that caused the destruction? I mean, saving a 12.5 deduction is better than no deduction. And to me, I don't understand. I mean, they want like perfection and miracles. When what was that thing? That's that expression. Don't let the don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. Dave, look, I'm with you, man. I mean, to me, sure, I'd like to have no taxes on overtime, period. 20,000, 30,000, 40,000, 50,000, no matter how much you make. It's your money. You should keep it. 617-266-6868. Okay. Yeah, we got Justin in New Hampshire back, so we're going to go to him. Just very quick, Mike now says, grudgingly, yes, he will give Trump credit for having extra money in his pocket. So there you go. So Mike finally, after prodding, he says, yes, things are better than a year ago. He wished they were even better, but, he wants them to be even more better. But he's happy saying, yeah, it is better. Now, Sandy made an absolutely superb point. If you start, this is why people are so excited about this jobs report. I talked about the loss in federal jobs. Okay, that's what's remarkable, is that there's 172,000 private sector jobs, but they actually lost 42,000 federal jobs. Well, government jobs, to be more accurate. 34,000 federal, 8,000 state and local. So that's why the number's at 130. But this is the figure that everybody is really impressed by. The federal workforce now is at its lowest rate, listen now to this, since Lyndon Johnson was president. The last time the public sector had been shrunk to this extent, to this level, was in 1966. That's when LBJ was president of the United States. That's Doge. That's all of the cuts in the waste, fraud, and abuse. That's all the layoffs of these, fat cat federal bureaucrats. So you've got a public sector that was bloated, fat, corrupt, lazy, that is now being trimmed. It's now being contracted. It's shrinking. It's reducing. While the private sector is poised for a massive takeoff with trillions of dollars in investment pouring in. And you've got reshoring taking place and massive more deregulation coming, which means the economy now can grow by trillions of dollars even more. So all the elements now, as I said, we just need Fed Chair Powell out. And we've got the whole table is now set for an economic renaissance, the likes we have not seen in a long time. 617-266-6868. In other words, the plan is coming together. Justin in New Hampshire, we reconnected with you. Go ahead, Justin, and welcome.
Morning, Jeff. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear, sir. So I'll be quick, three-part answer. So with this, no tax on overtime, it's up to $25,000 you can deduct up to. Not only that, but with other deductions, before you used to be able to be head of household or interest rate on your mortgage, depending on which one was higher. You can do both now. You can, at least I can, claim my vehicle registration through my taxes also. So people need to get a professional and stop trying to navigate this on their own. Now, that also being said, with this, my tax return is astronomical. I'm starting my own business with my tax return, on top of buying my wife a new car. It's insane.
Wow.
But, yeah, but I poised myself to get there. I put in extra.
Justin, no, you deserve it. No, please don't miss. I'm just saying, wow, you bought your wife a new car. As the Jews say, Mazel Tov. Congratulations. Well done, man. So I take it life has gotten, the economy for you it's getting pretty good, correct?
It feels like I'm reaching to try to slow myself down. I don't know. It's just a trajectory I've never been on before. Now, that being said, these returns are like when you pour gasoline into a bucket. It doesn't, when you throw a match in there, it's not just a slow burn. It's an explosion. And once Powell is out of there, that'll be the match dropped into the bucket to explode the economy. It takes a year to build a house. It takes 45 minutes to burn it down. And Biden burnt everything down, and now Trump's rebuilding it. And people just need to navigate it properly and have optimism. And on another thing, Dane, you're an inspiration to us all. Keep your shoulder down. Keep pushing forward, man. We're all
amen.
For you.
Amen. Justin, honestly, you're an inspiration. I mean, a couple of years ago, I got my wife a car. It was what do you call it? Pre-owned, as they call it now. It used to be called a used car. So my friend, you're doing very well. And congratulations. Keep going, Justin. 617, God bless you. 617-266-6868. Look, I would, honestly, I'm not trying to, pat myself on the shoulder. I'm just being honest. It was at least 6 months, the last 6 months of last year, what I kept saying, please be patient. Please be patient. Rome wasn't built in a day. It's very easy to destroy something. It's very hard to build something. Biden destroyed our economy. As Justin put it, like a house. He just burned it down. He torched it. To build a house takes time, especially if you want a good house with a really solid foundation that's going to last you generations. And that's what Trump kept saying over and over again. I'm not here just for the short term. I'm not just going to prime the pump and goose the economy for, a year or two. No, I want this to be generational. That's why we're going to put in these tariffs. We're going to stop the unfair trade. The country's ripping us off. We're going to start reshoring all this wealth, all of this investment, all of this manufacturing. This is going to take time. Deals can't happen overnight. I got to negotiate with India, China, the European Union, Canada, countries all over the world. This is not done in 2 hours. So I've got to do that. I've got to get the right regulations or the right deregulations. I've got to get the one big, beautiful bill. We've got to start to see these deportations kick in. But you're going to start realizing the more illegals are out, housing goes down, rent goes down, cheap labor is now chased out of the country. So wages begin to go up. It takes time. It takes time. It takes time. But now you're starting to see the results. Nick in Weymouth. Thanks for holding, Nick, and welcome.
Well, it's all relative, and it's all temporary. Live in Weymouth, you can find $3 gas easy. And if I remember correctly, you get premium. Well, you'd be paying $4 and up around here.
Really?
How about fuel oil? We've spent $1,700 on oil since September. We're probably due for another $500 hit in about 2 weeks. Got one 2 weeks ago for that same kind of money. Probably will top that off. It's a good precaution to do that over the summertime to have it mostly filled. So I'm figuring another $800 with $500 more and another $300. Forget the electrical bills. I don't see any proposition there. And what happened to drill, baby, drill? Anyways, Social Security, yes. I forget what the fellow told you about 2 or 3 calls ago, how much what the percentage was of his Social Security being taxed. I know what ours is, 41.1%. Under that piece of garbage Biden, we went from $3,000 deductions, $3,200, $3,400, right, down to last year, we got $600 and something odd dollars, cost $525 to do the taxes with the CPA. Okay, so last year, 27.9 went from to be taxed to Social Security. So that's like 27 hits of $100 a piece on the tax table. By the way, about every $1,000, and what most tax rate people are, like saying they're over 60-year age and above, for every $1,000 of income, they're going to hit you with 10% of that, $100. Okay, so there's no future in that, and it's temporary. But I will admit, what Sandy said is correct. It's actually higher. For example, for a married couple filing jointly, you could be looking at, I think it's $44,700 and something odd dollars as a total standard deduction. There's several factors there, by the way, to get to that. Single head of household, same thing. So that is fantastic. How long will that last? I don't think they're going to win the House, because just look at the votes in the Congress right now, right, on the Save America bill, and there's two Republicans didn't voted against it, and then the Senate hasn't even picked it up yet. And when they do, you got Murkowski, Grassley, Susan Collins. They're going to sabotage it. So what I'm saying is, God bless Trump. I have never voted for a Democrat. I never will. Okay? Am I infatuated with Republicans? No. I was infatuated with Donald Trump. Will we see someone like him ever again? Certainly not in my lifetime. No one has the courage to do what he did, and I credit him all that. The problem is the forces against him, like the Healey's, the Woos, the guy in New York City, and the bums who sit there in Congress and the Senate. Thune's no good. Johnson's no good, right? They accomplish nothing. They could care less when Trump goes away. Business will be as usual, unfortunately.
Well, and Nick, look, the sad thing is, and you kind of put your finger on it, the problem is, you mentioned Healy, you're right. Wu, you're right. Mamdani up in New York, you're right. And then you started talking about Congress, and it's a cesspool. And let me just give you an example. And this is why they don't care, because they're so disconnected. You mentioned how you're trying to save every penny. You're on a fixed income, like many listeners of this show. You need all the help that you can get. So they don't live paycheck to paycheck like most Americans do. They don't tighten their belt. They don't go to the grocery store and cut coupons and try to save money and skimp as much as they can and save as much money as they can. And no, because here, take Ayanna Pressley. I said this on X last night. Please, now she's just one. I'm only mentioning her because she's a prominent member of the squad, and she's a Democrat, and she's a real power here in Massachusetts. So here you have this radical left-wing Democrat who all she does is push for open borders, protecting illegal aliens, and demanding higher and higher crime. All this woman does is protect criminals. That's all this woman does, okay? She enters Congress. She has a negative net worth. She doesn't have a dollar to her name. She owes the banks. Do you understand? Negative net worth. So she's basically, she owes money. She married a man who spent 10 years, he's an ex-con, he spent not one, not two, not even 5, 10 years in prison for drug trafficking. Okay? He was a drug trafficker. She's now worth over $8 million. How did she get her money? Because the ex-con husband, the former drug trafficker who spent 10 years in the can, okay, in the clink, as they say, he's now a quote-unquote, I swear, look this up, because you won't believe me. Look it up. He's a quote-unquote consultant. The ex-con husband is now a consultant in Washington, D.C., who's making over $1 million a year. I mean, what is he consulting? How to traffic cocaine from Mexico into the United States? Seriously, what's he consulting on? To the Mexican drug cartels? How to ship fentanyl and then get it up into Massachusetts? And how do you start getting it up there into northern Mass and into southern New Hampshire? And how you work with the Dominican gangs and the Haitian gangs and the Tren de Aragua to distribute the product on the streets and maximize what you take and put in your pocket? So it's obvious. The campaign money that Ayanna Pressley is getting, she's now giving a cut to her husband as a quote-unquote consultant. They're basically stealing donations and lining their own pockets. Now, Ayanna Pressley wants Trump out as soon as possible. She doesn't want the swamp to be drained. She's part of the swamp. So you come into Congress, you owe money, you have negative net worth. And by the time you're, 8 years in, you're a multi-millionaire. That's the problem with our system. So they don't live check to check. They don't care if gas is $3 a gallon, $2.65, $3.50. What do they care? Plus, they expense it anyway. They don't care about the cost of groceries. They go to cocktail parties, they drive limos, and they steal. And by the way, where is the corrupt Boston media? Where is the corrupt Massachusetts media? She should be a household name like Elon, some people did something, Omar. Okay, that's what she should be. Instead, they're covering up for her. So there you go, Nick. That's the problem. In a nutshell, that's the problem. The thick get thicker. And we, the peasants, they squeeze us and squeeze us and squeeze us. Chris in Braintree. Thanks for holding, Chris, and welcome.
Morning, Jeff. You're on a roll. I love, you got me all fired up. I got goosebumps when you just called my name. I wanted to touch on a couple of things. All the pundits and economic experts were all going on and on and on about the tariffs. Trump's going to tank the economy. Trump's going to, well, he didn't. They fearmonger to their, to the max that they can every time they talk about him to try to turn people and brainwash them, and all these purple hair liberals line up to hear it and just wait for their marching orders. What are we protesting tomorrow? But the real reason I wanted to call, a couple of people have touched on the no tax on overtime. I don't know if any of the people, one guy sounds like he might have known. I'm guessing that you probably don't, but just so we're talking about the same thing, what do you define as overtime? Say you work a 40-hour, you're an hourly employee, 40-hour week. What's considered overtime? This is a question for you.
I think it's over 40 hours. In other words, you work 8 hours a day, and then anything above 8 hours is overtime.
A trick question. I just want to make sure that we're talking about the same thing.
Yes, yes, I agree with you, Chris.
I'm in a labor union, and I don't vote Democrat. Most of the guys where I work don't. But so I'm an hourly guy. I work anywhere, some weeks 5 or 6 hours overtime. Sometimes, sometimes I could work 20 or 30. It really depends. It's an emergency-driven business. That's about all I want to say about it. But the no tax on overtime is not on all of your overtime. It's no tax on the half portion of the time and a half rate. So in other words, if I work 10 hours overtime, I'm just going to use round numbers. If I make $50 an hour and my overtime rate is $75 an hour, the no tax on overtime is only on the $25. It's not the and I feel like I got bait and switched a little bit. I mean, I'm still MAGA. I'm still, Trump is my guy. I'm just I feel like I got bait and switched a little bit, and I'm sure that the no tax on overtime got watered down a little bit once it got into the hands of the House and the Senate.
Well, you nailed it, Chris. Sorry, I promise I won't cut you off. I will give you all the time you want. But you read my mind. Trump, look, let's say you make $50 an hour, okay, just for the sake of argument. And now your overtime is an extra $25 an hour. Okay, so you're working 40 hours, you get your 50 hour, it's $50 an hour. Now it's 41 hours, 42, 43, 44, 45. Now you're making, from 41 above, you're making $75 an hour. Trump wanted the full $75 tax-free. In other words, you just pay taxes on your first 40 hours. After that, Chris in Braintree's making $75 an hour for overtime. Let's say he works 10 hours. That's $750 extra. He should keep the $750. End of story. Or whatever. You give a little to Social Security, but in terms of income tax, nothing. It's his. It was the House and the Senate, forgive me, those bastards, that got in there and said, oh, no. Chris is making $50 an hour. He's got to still pay on the 50. So when we're talking no tax on overtime, that's just the $25 extra he gets for overtime. Okay, that we'll give him. So now, Trump, you remember the big, beautiful bill. It went on and on, month after month. Thune sat on it. Johnson sat on it. Were they going to pass it, not pass it? Pressure was building. He had to pass something. And that's what they do. They whittle you down and nickel you and dime. They nickel and dime you, and they forced him to dilute and compromise. But to be fair, Trump wanted the whole enchilada. He wanted that $75 that you're making to be completely tax-free. Please, Chris, pick up where you left off.
Yep, absolutely. I will credit Trump with that 100%. That's why I'm saying I'm still MAGA. He's still my guy. I know what his intent was, but where it got ruined, it's still good. But I had years. I don't work like this anymore. I had years where I would work literally. I know most people that work normal 9-to-5 jobs don't have any concept of what people that actually work for a living do. But I had years that I would work between 1,000 and 1,300 hours of just overtime. On top of my, 2,000 hours of regular. I worked my ass off to give my family the best life that I could. Neither of my kids, well, one of my kids doesn't owe any student loans. But I wasn't borrowing money. I was paying out of pocket. I was paying, $10,000, $12,000 every quarter out of pocket. Of money that I worked my ass off for. When I heard the no tax on overtime, I was excited as hell because I've been saying for years, I pay what I think is far more than my fair share of taxes just on my first 40 hours. I do. I frankly, I do. I'm not a drain. I'm not a drain on governmental resources.
No. Chris, listen to me. Look, please. You get a lot less in back than what you pay to the government in your 40 hours that you pay in taxes. Okay? They're making a profit off of you. The government is on your first 40 hours. And I'm with you all the way, brother. Okay. I want to ask all of you a double-barreled question. Do you think the economy now has really turned a corner? Trump says we're now at the beginning of his golden age, that the latest jobs report clearly shows the fundamentals are strong. The underlying strength of the economy is now there. Jobs are now getting created. The private sector is really starting to roar. Inflation is starting to really come down. Productivity is getting stronger and stronger and stronger. Trillions of dollars are now coming in and being invested. This is it now. The underpinnings are there for really an economic boom that we haven't, the likes of which we have not seen in decades. Do you feel the economy getting better? If you look at your situation, your personal situation, say from a year ago, compare it to today, is it better, worse, or the same? And then the second question, why do you think you have so many polls? There's a shock poll. It's a Fox News poll. Fox News poll says that 54% of respondents say that the economy has gotten worse since Trump was inaugurated. That, in fact, at the end of the Biden presidency, they say the economy was better then than it is now. Which I'm like, I don't know what planet they're living on, or I don't know what planet I'm living on. To me, it's infinitely better than it was than when Biden left office. I think, to me, there's no question. But they say healthcare costs are way too high. That's one of the things they complain about, that affordability is still a major issue, that most prices have not come down. In fact, they say prices, especially as we've been talking about all morning, home heating, electricity, energy, those continue to go up and up and up. But as I say, that's much of that is not Trump. That's heat pump Healy, as an example, in Massachusetts. But still, the complaint is cost of living is out of control. Wages are not keeping up with this inflation or affordability crisis that we have. And they feel that Trump, generally, I'm going by the polls, has spent way too much time focusing on foreign policy, on issues dealing with Venezuela, Iran, Gaza, Russia, Ukraine, making peace deals, than with driving down inflation, driving down the cost of living, and putting more money in people's paychecks. And so my question is, do you agree, disagree, and what do you think accounts for these polls? 617-266-6868. David in Ashland. Thanks for holding, David, and welcome.
Thank you for what you do. Regarding your question, I'd have to say it's like two-prong type of thing. Basically, Peter paying Paul. And I think that Trump is doing all the correct things, but I think that I'm not seeing it because I'm a senior, I'm a disabled vet, I'm on a fixed income, and what's happening is the state that I live in, basically, healthcare costs are because I used to work in healthcare. And healthcare costs, I can tell you, you go to the emergency rooms and you see lines and lines of migrants that are sitting there waiting to go in. And I think that that's part of the reason that healthcare costs are high. I think that regarding electric energy, I mean, Maura Healey, her and her solar. I mean, I was driving on one of the main roads here. All the solar panels are all covered with snow. So how is that working? It's not working. So, but I'm the one that has to pay for all the mistakes that they are doing. I mean, I have a son in college. I'm a homeowner, and I think that, this whole thing regarding the economy, I think Trump is doing everything, but I haven't seen it yet. I go to the grocery store. I see the food that they have there. They changed the size of the containers when you used to buy it. The prices haven't changed, and the food, the packaging is smaller. So I don't think it has happened yet, but I think it's coming. And the problem being is that for all of us is it's not getting out there what he's doing. The news media is doing nothing to tell the other people what's going on. I can tell you I had a lot of patients that I would have to call them at their home and stuff. You know what they're doing? They're watching TV. They're watching TV, so they're getting the mainstream media. They're not getting the information that your listeners are getting. I listen to you all every day. And I think that Trump is doing the right thing, but again, I think it's Peter paying Paul. So the state basically, whatever money I'm saving from Trump or getting better, I'm paying the state for the migrants that are here.
Well, David, first of all, I don't want to forget because I want to answer your questions and your points, but I want to thank you for your service. I love you guys. I really, truly, I love you guys from the bottom of my heart, and I wouldn't be behind this microphone if it wasn't for veterans like you, and especially disabled veterans like you. And people like you should be number one. You shouldn't be the last in line. You should be first in line. And we should be taking care of you, not illegal aliens, not welfare deadbeats, not Maura Healey's cronies, but people like you. People like you should be number one. You should be our number one priority. And look, this is what breaks my heart, is they're stealing our money here in Massachusetts. And we can beat them. I'm telling you, we can beat them. The House of Representatives yesterday passed the SAVE Act. Now we're going to see if we can get it through the Senate. We passed the SAVE Act. It's going to really put the Democrats on defense, even here in Massachusetts. But we need a viable Republican Party with candidates that are willing to take the fight, to be as brave politically as vets like you were brave on the battlefield. That's the problem. That's the problem. Is that if our politicians and our so-called political leaders, I'm talking about our side, Republicans, 617-266-6868 is the number. Ronnie in Boston. Thanks for holding, Ronnie, and welcome.
Hey, good morning,
Ronnie.
Jeff. Good morning, Kuhner country.
How are you, buddy?
I have never been better, and I've never been more happy to talk to you in the audience than today. I had my taxes done at H&R Block last night, and so when I listened to Vince in Germany this morning talking about how angry the base is at Trump and how we're not going to turn out to vote at the midterms because we're not motivated, and I laughed and laughed and laughed at his ignorance, Jeff. Long story short, I'm an hourly guy, union guy. I work for a water municipality. Last year, my federal income tax return was $1,900. And last night when I got my taxes done, because I can claim my overtime, my federal was $4,800, Jeff.
Whoa.
I got almost $3,000 more because I could claim $12,500 of my overtime plus the other benefits that are in the big, beautiful bill. And keep in mind, Jeff, a lot of people listening to this right now have even more deductions that they can file because I'm a single guy that's not married and I don't have kids. And even that being the case, and even though I made slightly less this year than the year before, my federal income tax return went from $1,900 to $4,800. So a lot of people that are calling in to grouse, I suggest you go do your taxes first and then call into the show and see what's going on, because a lot of people are going to be shocked, Jeff. I've never been more motivated to vote for Trump, to vote for Republicans, to vote for America first. I have never, ever seen an increase in my federal taxes like this in my life. So, Vince in Germany, with all due respect, you're just talking out of your pie hole. I mean, really. So many Americans are going to get hit with this bomb. Like, Jeff, you ever see like a UFC fight when someone gets knocked out and Joe Rogan's eyes, light up and
Yes.
he flies into the back of his chair?
Yes,
that
yes.
was me when the tax preparer showed me what I was getting.
Well, I got to say, Ronnie, that's what Besant and Lutnick and Trump himself and J.D. Vance, they've been saying this now for months. They're like to everybody, please trust us. They keep saying this, please wait till you get your tax refund and then talk to me about whether you got more money in your pocket. Ronnie, look, your point is 1,000% correct, as I like to say. But let's just leave the refund, which is big. I mean, $3,000, that's huge. But let's just leave the refund aside for a second. When you look at everything else, when you go tank up at the gas pump, when you buy food, groceries, I don't know if you own or you pay rent, but whatever, when it comes to your home, to your rental apartment, when you look at basic living expenses, overall, your cost of living, is Ronnie in Boston doing better, worse, or the same as, say, a year ago when Trump was inaugurated?
Oh, my God, I'm doing way, way better, Jeff. I mean, gas hit $5 under Biden. Inflation hit over 9%. You know what I mean? Food was, food is still higher than we'd all like it to be, but it's way better than it was under Biden, paying $5, $6 for a dozen eggs, $5 for a gallon of gas. I mean, it was absolutely crazy. Plus all the extra taxes taken out like other callers have mentioned, to fund migrants and to fund, Democrat activism. And Trump has trimmed and cut all that fat. You know what the problem is with Trump, Jeff, is that he has accomplished so much so quickly that it almost looks like he's not accomplishing anything. When you add the mainstream media refusing to report all this great America First progress. But Jeff, the proof is in the pudding, Jeff. And I'm still not completely over it. Just what a massive leap my federal return was. I just can't get over it, Jeff.
Ronnie, if there's anything, Trump's people listen, obviously. Is there anything about his economic agenda, his economic policies, that you wish he had done differently or that you would like for him to do differently this coming year? We know Jerome Powell, but he can't, maybe he should have fired Powell a couple of months ago. Besson said, please don't do it. It's going to rattle the markets. It's going to rattle investors. What are you going to get out of it? Maybe an extra 3 or 4 months. We're going to get our guy in, Kevin Warsh, and he's going to slash these interest rates. It's not worth the pain to get rid of this guy. So outside of Jerome Powell, which in many ways was outside of Trump's control, is there anything else where you look at Trump and you say, had he just done this differently or that differently, anything at all that you think the economy would be even better right now?
The most honest way I could answer that question is after getting such a massive increase, like 125% increase, I think it would almost be rude to criticize Trump right now after the tax return I got last night. It would be rude to nitpick after what happened to me last night. So go get your taxes done, people, especially if you work overtime. You're going to be shocked.
Ronnie, great call. Hey, Ronnie, come on, don't be a stranger. Call more often, my friend. Thank you for that call, Ronnie. Kim, and you're going to see. Watch, this is going to, a lot of people, I'm the same. I do my taxes late. I don't do them in early February. By the way, Grace is the finance minister. So when I say I do my taxes, it's really she does our taxes, and we have an accountant. So, but she tends to do it more closer to the deadline. So I'm not going to know until probably early April or whatever it is. And I think a lot of people are like me. I don't think they're like Ronnie and some others. They tend to do it more later. So I think in the spring is when you're going to start to see people, their eyes are going to pop wide open and they're going to say, whoa, whoa, this is nice. And then you've got that big check. And you start spending that check for whatever you need for your family. And you know what they say? A rising tide lifts all boats. Kim in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Kim, and welcome.
Hey, hi. Thank you for taking my call.
My pleasure, Kim.
I love your show. When you're not on, it's definitely, the day is definitely different.
Thank you. Thank you, Kim. I wish Mike and Sandy would feel the same way. When I'm not on, they're happy. But I'm just kidding. I'm just teasing them. All right, go ahead, Kim. Please, go ahead.
Say I have a 19-year-old daughter and a 25-year-old son, and I would say my daughter, she's definitely doing way better than she was this time last year. She was still working for the doggy daycare job that she had in high school, but now she's making $31 an hour as a 19-year-old.
Wow!
For a fiber optic company, and my son, he's not punching a clock for anybody. He's got his mobile mechanic company, and and I guess myself, I'm doing better than I was this time last year, where my husband and I were waiting on an all-inclusive vacation down to Florida next month. So yeah, we're all doing much better than this time last year. Yeah.
Kim, honestly, congratulations. Your daughter, your son, they seem to be doing extremely well. $31 an hour, and she's 19 years old. Good for her. Really good for her. They're underway. They're underway. And look, we haven't even talked about, and I know your children are older, don't get me wrong, but we're not even talking about the Trump accounts where, you're going to get, children that are born between, 2025 and 2028. They're going to be given, $1,000. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, I want to read, this was a text that was sent to my personal phone. It wasn't to 70470. By the way, you can text us, 70470. But it just shows the corruption in this state. And I know it's just slightly off topic, but it goes to what I was saying earlier. People are saying you're robbing Peter to pay Paul, which in some ways, sadly, if you live in a blue state, it's not just Massachusetts. It's Rhode Island, it's Connecticut, it's New York, it's Illinois, it's California, it's, Washington State, Oregon. So, you're getting these immense benefits from Trump. Like, as Ronnie pointed out, my bad. As Ronnie pointed out, he's going to get a $3,000 massive tax refund. Above and beyond what he got last year. I mean, $3,000, that's no joke. And, gas prices are down. I got to be honest. I do the shopping in our family. I would like to see grocery prices lower, no question. But overall, now beef is more expensive now. It is. Okay, beef has gone up, no question. But everything else is cheaper. I don't know if I'm imagining things. Now, not much cheaper. But, fruits and vegetables, a little cheaper. Cold cuts, a little cheaper. Lunch meats for the kids. Whatever. Peanut butter, eggs. Eggs are cheaper. There's no question eggs are cheaper. Milk, a little cheaper. Cheese, a little cheaper. Like, I'm noticing it's not, you're kind of nibbling around the edges. I'm not saying these are, big savings. But I'm looking at it, I'm like, first of all, they're not going up outside of beef. They're not going up. And in some cases, slowly, they're kind of going down. Not much, but I'm like, well, okay, it's, it's definitely not as bad as it was under Biden. There's no question. I mean, and I'm going to Stop and Shop, or Big Y or Shaw's or, I don't know if, I'd love to go to a Market Basket. We just don't have one close to our home. But I'm noticing prices are starting to edge downward overall when I go shopping. So to me, yes. Now, the problem is they hammer you on the state side. The energy, the electricity, I don't have to repeat everything. You know what Maura Healey's doing, raising our taxes. How much of the money goes to illegals. So we've got to beat the Democrats because really they're robbing us blind. Now, what one party rule does, and this is why they are so vulnerable, they can be beaten if we could just get a Republican Party that really truly wants to win. It's the corruption, the fraud, and the arrogance. Okay, they're practically spitting in our faces. So listen now to this. This is from 978, who texted this to me. Jeff, why hasn't the state attorney general, Andrea Campbell's brother, Alvin Campbell's serial rape cases gone to trial or been resolved? He was also charged with assaulting a guard while in custody. It's been about 5 or 6 years now. There are at least 6 rape charges against this guy. And it's obvious why they're being stalled. But what about the victims? This is shameful. Oh, you're dead on, 978. As I like to say, not 100, 1,000% correct. This is the brother of Andrea Campbell. Okay, by the way, she's the top law enforcement officer in theory in our state. This is the state attorney general. In July of 2016, listen to this. Her brother, Alvin, was driving an Uber or a Lyft or whatever, one of these rideshare, gigs that he had. He allegedly sexually assaulted and raped a woman. They had his DNA. The police had his DNA. And they refused to arrest him for years. They sat on the case and did nothing. And apparently, allegedly, he raped multiple other women. Allegedly, assaulted other women as the police sat on that DNA evidence. And now they finally, they had to. The guy just, it was, allegedly one rape after another, after another, after another. Okay? So, he's allegedly a serial rapist. And when is this thing going to go to trial? When is this thing going to go to court? And it's obvious that the Attorney General is exercising illegal, corrupt, undue influence to coddle and protect and shield her alleged rapist brother. And this is our Attorney General? Ay, ay, ay. Seriously, ay, ay, ay. Now, Republicans can't run on this. I mean, there's so much more to run on, don't get me wrong. But what I'm saying is, the corruption now here, it's Eastern European levels. I mean, they're not hiding it. It's brazen. It's, it's just like, puh, puh. What are you going to do about it? Puh, puh. We can win, and we can take back this state. But to win, you have to want to win, and you have to be willing to fight. You can't win when you're swimming with the Democrats in the same swamp. And that's the problem the Republicans have. And that begins with the Mass GOP chair, Amy Carnevale, to the consultants, and to the what little conservative media there is, how freaking corrupt they are. This whole state is paid to play. That's all it is paid to play, with a few notable exceptions. 617-266-6868. Dan in Florida. Thanks for holding, Dan, and welcome.
Jeff, my brother from another mother.
Dan, my friend, you're the guy to talk to. Oh, are you the guy to talk to? You travel everywhere. You're always on the road. You talk to everybody. Dan, 2 questions, and I'm going to let you go at it. 1, do you think the economy is turning around? Number 1. And number 2, what are people telling you? Personally, are they living better or worse under Trump?
Absolutely. Things have turned around. So it started back in like November, December. There was a little bit of a drag. You could feel a little drag on the economy, Jeff. People weren't going to restaurants. People are afraid. I think people have stopped listening to the news, Jeff. I think they're starting to get out. I see it. Restaurants are full again. There's people, people are enjoying themselves. They're out. They're spending. And yeah, it's coming back, Jeff. I bought avocados yesterday for 45 cents a piece, Jeff.
That's not bad.
Oh, I bought tomatoes.
That's good. That's really good.
I bought tomatoes down here in Florida for 79 cents a pound.
Wow.
Jeff, the real world is doing great. Those people got to get out of Massachusetts, Jeff. The real world is doing great.
Dan, I want you obviously to continue, but I got to ask you, avocados here, trust me, they're not 45 cents, okay? And tomatoes here are not 79 cents a pound. Why is food, let's just stick to food. Why is food, groceries, why are they so much more expensive than in Florida? Or Larry, who's now living in Arkansas, he's messaging me saying, Jeff, I go grocery shopping. It's night and day compared to what we pay for food. The same food. It's the same tomatoes, same avocados. It's the same meat, the same chicken. It's the same everything. It is so much cheaper in Arkansas, Florida, and other places than here in Massachusetts. Why? What's your theory, Dan?
Jeff, it's doing business in Massachusetts is more expensive. So the grocery store is paying twice in electricity what they would pay in Florida. They're paying twice in heat or 3 times in heat or air conditioning is what they do in Florida, right? They're paying, and as a result, they're paying more for their health because their health needs to make more money to live in Massachusetts because they're paying half of it in taxes. So it's a vicious cycle. It's a vicious cycle, right? So in Florida, for instance, right? I've reached that ripe old age of 61, Jeff, right? I can draft off my 401ks and my IRAs, right? That money is not taxed in Florida. I'd be paying an additional 5.5% tax on it in Massachusetts. It's awful, right?
Incredible. It's incredible. Just incredible. Dan, please, you're on a roll. So you're saying definitely the economy is getting better. Cost of living is coming down. You feel it. You see it. You're paying. You can tell. Dan, when you talk to others, are they feeling it as well?
Yes. As a couple of people I know here in Florida were out of work last year. They're all back to work. They feel better about life. They're spending money, obviously. I have a couple of tenants that were suffering beginning of last year. They're paying their rent now. It's good. I tell you, who mentioned one of the callers mentioned healthcare is still crazy. So I spent 8 hours at an emergency room and just before New Year's, got kind of screwed up, right? But no surgery, no extensive blah blah blah. Jeff, $9,700 bill.
Holy mackerel!
97. That's here in Florida. I mean, it's a national issue. We got to do something with healthcare in this country. I know Trump is trying with this the Trump RX, which is a great idea. Whoever thought you'd see Mark Cuban jump into the Trump camp?
Yeah, that's right. That's for insulin and certain medications, which is great. But, you're right, Mark. They've got to do something on healthcare because I think for most people, when they talk about the number one driver of what's really, gone up in terms of their costs, I think they point to healthcare, correct?
Absolutely. I tell you, honestly, as I said to my neighbor yesterday when I, got all these bills and I'm looking at them going, what the hell? I said to him, geez, next time, throw me in the back of the pickup truck, take me out to the field and leave me there. Because, my cut of that pie was $3,000, Jeff. For 8 hours, it was no vacation.
Now, Dan, let me ask you this, because you're very good at prognosticating. With the refund checks coming in the spring, prices continuing to go down, economic growth revving up and up and up, everything now coming together, Kevin Warsh as the Fed chair, interest rates coming down even more. By the time we get to September, October, November, the fall, are the Republicans going to have the wind at their back? Or do you still think it's going to be a bloodbath and Republicans will lose the midterms? What's your sense right now, Dan?
The scary thing is, Jeff, the conservatives, they're too busy working, dealing, they don't vote. Scary, Jeff. People don't vote in local elections. Look at Massachusetts. Who in the world would vote for Catherine Clark? Think about that. Who in the world would vote for Maura Healey? I talk to these people, and I'm like, don't you know what she's? Oh no, I like her. What do you like about her? Oh, she seems nice. Those are the answers you get, Jeff.
Oh, that is very true. Oh, that is so true. They don't follow what she does. You're completely right. They don't read the news or listen to the show, and you're right. It's all optics. It's all emotion. It's all exactly what you said. Oh, she looks like she's a nice person. You're right. She seems like she's she's trying hard. I'm like, what? And when you start telling them the basics of what she's done, they're shocked. They're shocked. I've never seen such uninformed voters as here in Massachusetts. Dan, please, I didn't want to cut you off. So what's your ultimate prediction, buddy? What do you think is going to happen?
So I'm praying, Bongino. I know I'm not happy with what happened with the Epstein, press conference he did. But I can tell you this: he has one very good idea. Everybody calls 10 people, drives 10 people to the polls, and convinces 10 people to vote. If every one of us do that, Jeff, we can get people out and save save the House. But I tell you, if we lose the House, it's over. It's over. And people don't even get that, Jeff. They don't understand what that means. But God bless America, Jeff.
God bless you, Dan. God bless you. And please, my friend, again, call more often. Call more often, buddy. He's almost like our national correspondent. He just flies everywhere. Dan's a businessman. He talks to everybody, and he really has his nose on the ground. Dan, thank you so much for that call, my friend. Let's go to Roy in Everett. Thanks for holding, Roy, and welcome.
Jeff.
Hi, Roy.
I wanted to just point out something. On these polls, they're polling most of the people from the 12 blue states. And a lot of people in these blue states are sad. They're upset that their economy sucks, really. And that's a big problem. So if they did poll the whole country, we'd be better off.
That is a really good point. Look, Roy, I can just tell you this, because when I talk to people here, my sister lives in Arizona. My sister-in-law lives in Arizona. Life in Arizona is much cheaper than life in Massachusetts. Cost of living is much lower on everything. It's like what, it's like what Dan was talking about Florida, or Larry was talking about in Arkansas. So, if you're to poll me, hey, Jeff, how is the economy? Well, I got Maura Healey breathing down my back. I've got energy and electricity bills, going through the roof every 3 to 6 months. I've got high insurance. I've got high taxes. I've got, rents here are insane. Housing prices here are insane. If I lived in Arizona, I'd say, well, that's getting good. And even better once those refund checks come in. For me now, my refund check is to basically equalize things with Maura Healey and the Democrats. In other words, let's say I get a couple $1,000s more. I'm assuming I'm going to get a couple $1,000s more. Well, that just makes up for everything that Healey and the Democrats have been taking from me at the state level. So it's not a gain. It's not in my pocket. It's just preventing, that it's compensating for the $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 I have to pay more just because I'm in Massachusetts. So I feel like I'm choking. I just can't get ahead. So I think that's why when you poll people like in Mass or Rhode Island or California or Illinois or New York, you're like, yeah, the economy sucks. It's a tough slog. It's like trench warfare. It's you're going against the wind. But if you go in these other states, red states, even purple states, you're like, no, it's good and it's getting better. I mean, Roy, final word to you. Am I wrong?
And the reason is this, that in this state, I think you have to devote one of your shows to the economy in this state. It's really crappy. And people know it, and we're seeing more unemployment and businesses just taking off. Look at the biotech sector. It's going away. There's a lot of vacancies in Cambridge now. They're moving off to other areas, and they're not coming back to Massachusetts. One more thing. This is like what happened in the 70s when the computer industry decided to go away. And that's a problem.
Oh,
And
Roy,
right.
it's a huge problem. And thank you for that call. Here, look at Cape Cod chips. Cape Cod chips. Now, look, they're moving out of the state, and they're moving their operations out of the state. Now, look, to be fair, every job you lose is bad. Don't get me wrong. Okay, it's not hundreds or thousands of jobs. It's 49 employees are gone. They've lost their jobs. So I'm not saying 49 is a catastrophe, But just to think about how things are bad in Massachusetts, just stand back. Here you have, and they're very good potato chips. I buy them. I'm a barbecue man, but that's me. Grace likes the salt and vinegar. Ashton and Ava love the regular. Whatever. To each his own or her own. But here you have a brand that is directly identified with the state. It's Cape Cod chips. You can't get more connected to Massachusetts than the state. They are now leaving Massachusetts. They're relocating elsewhere. Why? Because the cost of doing business is too high. The high taxes, the high regulation, the constant harassment from Healy and the Democrats. And they're like, look, we're done. You can't make money in this state. We're done. Now, those jobs are not coming back. Those plants are not coming back. Now, that's just a microcosm. It's just emblematic. And by the way, it's not just that it's 49 jobs. They pay taxes. And I'm not even talking about the owners who pay, taxes, they pay a lot in taxes. I'm not even talking about the ownership. I'm just talking about the 49 employees. So taxpayers are fleeing. Businesses are fleeing. And I'm going to be brutally honest with you. How do I know this? I'm so certain. I get emails every day from listeners. Jeff, I was born and raised in Massachusetts. Jeff, I've lived here most of my life. I'm in South Carolina now. I'm in Florida now. I'm in New Hampshire now. Wherever it is, I'm gone. And they're all hard-working, law-abiding taxpayers. Some either have businesses or others just work and pay taxes. I'm looking at this and I'm like, we're losing our tax base. We're hemorrhaging jobs. We're hemorrhaging taxpayers and bringing in more illegals. This is not going to end well. There's no money for the illegals anymore. Because what you've done now is, the horses that pulled the cart are now leaving. And after a while, you don't have enough horses to pull the cart. And that's going to be Massachusetts' problem very soon. And that's what the Democrats don't see. The Republicans, this should be a slam dunk argument. Where are they? I don't know. Ann in Hull. Thanks for holding, Ann, and welcome.
Thank you for taking my call. I only called to correct the information that you're giving to the Kuhner country. It's very important that you know that the $6,000 is nothing to do with Social Security. It's an extra form, 1040SR, Form 1A. That is an extra form that the seniors can use and should use for the next 4 years, 25, 26, 27, 28. We only can use it for this year and 3 more years. Whether they do the standard deduction or itemize their deduction, it's on top of everything. An extra $6,000 they're going to get for a single senior, an extra $12,000 for a couple. And they need to go and get the form on 1040 forms. They need to fill out the form, and if they're a single filer, they're going to get on top of everything, $6,000. That's nothing to do with Social Security. Social Security, and they can do it if they make, I believe it's under $150,000. But
so hold on, Ann. You're saying that if they make under $150,000, their Social Security income is not taxed at all? Is that what you're saying?
Nothing to do with Social Security, I'm trying to tell you.
I'm sorry. What doesn't have to do with Social Security?
The $6,000.
No, I got that, but because Trump promised no tax on Social Security. So my question to you is, are seniors still going to be paying taxes on their Social Security income?
Separate thing. You can't put the two of them. This is a whole separate deduction that they're going to get, whether they itemize or they take the standard deduction. It's on top of.
I got you. Okay, I got you, Ann. And overall, when you look at your personal circumstances, your financial circumstances, have things gotten better, worse, or the same over the last year under Trump? Say, compare yourself today to a year ago.
I'm 100% behind Trump, but it's not. Nothing's changed for me so far, and nobody can really tell until after they do their taxes whether things have changed.
I think, yeah, and I'm with you, Ann. I think when a lot of them start to see that big refund check, I think people will start saying, "Oh, yeah, things are getting better." And I appreciate that call and the clarification. I really do. And thank you very much, Vern in Norfolk. Thanks for holding, Vern, and welcome.
Hello, Jeff.
Hi, Vern.
Good morning. We're neighbors, you know.
What do you mean we're neighbors?
Well, I live in Norfolk.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought maybe you had another home and you lived in Rentham or something. I got you. Yes, we are. We're almost paisan, as the Italians would say. Definitely. Norfolk is right near my neck of the woods. Go ahead, Vern. What's on your mind?
Well, you were asking, you know, if things are better for us. And my wife and I both retired. I sold a business about 4 years ago. She retired 2 years ago. We're trading water. We're just trading water. We're trying to keep up with the taxes. They killed me when I sold the damn business. I paid over 40% income tax when I sold that damn business.
That's criminal. Honestly, Vern, that's criminal. 40%? They took 40%? That's criminal.
I busted my hump for 42 years. And when my accountant said, Vern, this is what you owe. I what? Can't be. And he said, hey, you want to dance, you're going to have to pay the piper. Oh, and then my wife, when she retired 2 years ago, what she had to pay. And then our health insurance, through the roof. We can't keep up with it. We're treading water. So I feel like I'm paying taxes and health insurance. And then you said, well, what about groceries? Dude, I paid almost $15 for pastrami the other day. For a pound of pastrami. $14.
Vern, what kind of pastrami were you buying, my friend?
Well, it's good stuff at Roach Brothers, but be that as it may.
Yeah, it's not $14-15. No, I hear you, Vern, but that's very expensive pastrami. Vern, if you don't mind me asking, and if I'm getting too personal, please tell me. I promise I won't be offended. For everything that you've paid in taxes and the 40%, the hammer they hit you with when you finally sold your business after, as you put it, breaking your hump, for the last 42 years, and then your wife as well. Do you feel that you got that back in government benefits and government services?
Heck no. Never. No, nothing's changed there. But everything else is going up. And I'll tell you what, when they started about 10 years ago to get it.
Vern, can you... Vern, I'm up against a break. Please hang on. I want you to come and finish your thought. 617-266-6868. Let's go right back to Vern. They hammered him with a 40% tax when he sold his business, 42 years. He's got insurance payments through the nose. He's got taxes through the nose. Poor guy wants to get himself a little bit of pastrami at $14-15 a pound. He says even groceries for him are getting expensive. He's just barely treading water. Vern, please pick up where you left off.
Hello?
Yep, go ahead, Vern. You're on the air. Go ahead.
I want to talk about my health care, too. You know, when Obama was in and they signed that health thing, I was supposed to save $2,500 each of my wife, $5,000 a year on my health insurance. Well, that didn't happen. And now I'm paying, not only that, each of us is paying $2,500 more a year on our health insurance. My primary care doctors, my first one retired. Another one said, why should I work? And he left. Another one, he went on to something else. My current primary care is going to one of those private practices, which is $12,000 a year just for that. We're not going to pay that. And what am I going to do with my health care? That's what I worry about.
Vern, again, I don't want to get too personal, but aren't you on Medicare?
But it's horrible. The doctors that they assign us are horrible. The wait lists are terrible. You know, you go into what they say, you're sitting around, and I wonder, am I getting the premium health care? Probably not. And so we like the guys we had, the primary doctors, are great guys and women, but we're not going to be able to afford $10,000 a year to do that to these.
Well, you see, Vern, your problem is you're an American citizen. So that's your problem, Vern. You see, if you said you were an illegal alien, then Maura Healey, I'm not kidding, Maura Healey would say you can get free health care. You wouldn't pay $10,000, you wouldn't pay $12,000, you wouldn't pay $20,000, you wouldn't pay anything. So, you know, that would take care of that. Plus, Vern, they give you food stamps. They pay for your meals. So, you can have all the pastrami sandwiches you want. Plus, they would pay for your housing. You see this? So, in other words, your problem, Vern, is that you're an American. If you're an illegal, you wouldn't pay for a thing. And that's literally the problem in this state, is that you, me, the listeners, law-abiding, tax-paying, hardworking, or formerly, I know you're retired, so you're not working now, but, law-abiding, tax-paying, hardworking Americans, someone like you, 42 years, broke your back to keep your business afloat, your wife, same thing, and we're getting the short end of the stick. We're being discriminated against in our own state, in our own country. And that's why, to me, I'm waiting for the tax revolt. I'm waiting for this populist revolt. I keep saying it's going to come. There's going to be a time where people are going to say, I'm mad as hell, and I'm not going to take it anymore. And I'm waiting, and I'm waiting, and I'm waiting. And I think what people are waiting for is a leader that they can believe in. At a bare minimum, a party that they can believe in. And that's why I don't want to sound like a broken record, but I've said this over and over again. As they keep losing to the Democrats. That's all they care about. So I say, let's get a real opposition party. You get a real opposition party. The Democrats will fall like a house of cards. Because, Vern, I'm telling you, you're not the only one. And, we're sick and tired of it. The forgotten American, especially in Massachusetts, is saying enough is enough. You can't keep doing this. I can't keep doing this. Because you're right. We are treading water. 617-266-6868. And look, let me be honest with all of you. If this was a war, I don't know, World War II, people had to make all kinds of sacrifices. Okay, they had to go without. There was rationing. Taxes went up. I mean, there was all sorts of things. Fine. Okay, we're willing to sacrifice for the country. Of course. If, we're involved in a war or our troops are, sent overseas and they're dying and, hey, well, I'll sacrifice. But what are we paying taxes for? What are we paying for higher insurance for? Higher energy, higher electricity, higher utilities, higher cost of living. It's either for illegal aliens, in other words, the voter base of the Democratic Party, or these insane radical environmentalists with their climate change mandates and climate change agenda. In other words, for the radical left. So, no, I'm sorry. We're not suckers. We're being exploited. That's what this is. Frankly, we're being abused as taxpayers. And I think it's time we said enough is enough. I'm not a serf. And they're trying to turn us into a serf. Well, those days are over. Joe in Westfield. Thanks for holding, Joe, and welcome.
Jeff, I'm going to give you two examples between business in a red state and a blue state, such as Massachusetts. I don't know if you heard this, but Corando Foods in Springfield, they make spiral hams and sausages. They've been in business over 100 years. A relative works there. They were just informed, unfortunately, that by the summer they're going to be closed. 200 people are going to be out of work, and the media is making it look like it's just consolidation. But the sad truth is, from people that he knows, working there 30 plus years, is that they're moving out of mass because it's just a total unfriendly business environment. They wouldn't work with them. They wouldn't try to help them with tax breaks and the environmental stuff and all that other stuff. So they're gone. Sadly, they're going to be gone by the end of summer. And on the positive side, not in our area, but I'm a long-haul trucker. My company's out of Wisconsin. I haul exhaust fans for roofing, for flat roof buildings, new construction. 80% of the deliveries I do are to red states, and the only deliveries I do in blue states are normally just to Amazon facilities that they're building, because they build them everywhere. But it's certainly not any bargain as opposed to actual manufacturing jobs that pay a lot.
It's like we're living in two different countries. Joe, forgive me, Joe, the way you describe it, it's like we're living in two different countries. And, look, you mentioned that company in Springfield. I spoke about Cape Cod Chips earlier. No, Cape Cod Chips, to their credit, said it was Maura Healey. They said exactly what you mentioned, the excessive regulation, the crushing taxes, these crazy climate change, environmental mandates. They go, they're squeezing us everywhere. We can't make a profit. And they go, what's scary is you try to explain this to them. And it's like dealing with Zoran Mamdani. It's like, they're so far to the left. They're so anti-business, anti-capitalist, anti-private sector. Either they don't want to listen or they don't care. And my suspicion is, Joe, and I'm going to give you the final word on this, I think, and it's not just happening in Massachusetts, Gavin Newsom here, Zuckerberg now is out. Zuckerberg is now leaving California because to flee the wealth tax. And he's not the only one. And by the way, they're relocating where? Florida. Florida. Everybody's relocating to Florida. Why? Because you can make money. They're business friendly. They won't have regulations that choke you and strangle you. But the point is this, okay? So it's not just here in Mass, but it's in blue states everywhere. But the point is this. Maura Healey looks at something like Cape Cod Chips, or I bet that company in Springfield. And here's what she says. Well, it's private sector, so they don't vote Democrat, most likely. The owners definitely don't vote Democrat because we're taxing them to the hilt. So, we're trying to basically run them out of the state. So they're not going to vote for us. And those are private sector jobs that the employees have. So they're also paying taxes through the nose. So they're looking at them and saying, these are either Republicans or independents. They're not really our people. They're not our voters. So if they want to leave, blank you, leave. And they're so stupid that they don't realize that the more taxpayers leave, the less money there is for them and their government programs and their welfare handouts. Am I wrong, Joe?
You're not only right, but you're 1,000,000% right. It's unbelievable. And as far as trucking goes and transportation and cost of everything being so high, besides lowering the interest rates, I think the price of diesel should still go down. It's still too high.
I agree. I agree. They should drill even more. I mean, I know Trump came out today and said, now officially we are the #1 producer of oil and natural gas in the world. 617-266-6868 is the number. Down the stretch we come. John in Walpole. Thanks for holding, John, and welcome.
Good morning.
John, you're on the air. Go ahead, my friend.
Yeah, Jeff, can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear, John. Go ahead.
Okay, man. I want to talk things are a little better, but I'm on Social Security, so I don't know what the other one was talking about. That's if you're individual, 6,000, and if you're a couple, 12,000, that is going to reduce your cost of the Social Security. But I wanted to talk more about the energy, and obviously in Massachusetts, it's Maura Healey's responsibility for Eversource and National Grid. So, but I want to talk about the cost of the home heating fuel. And under Trump in 2020 in December, his last time, he lost in November. In 2020, I got to fill up, Jeff. It was $1.69 a gallon. Okay, and currently I'm paying $3.79 a gallon. So if he can reduce that, I think that'll be a lot better, and people will see that. And in regards to the gas at the pump, it was when he was in office, it was $1.79 a gallon, and it's hovering around here in Walpole is $2.65 for cash for regular unleaded. So he said, you just mentioned the fact that we're the number one producer. Did you just mention that?
Yes, Trump came out today and announced, apparently it's official, we were number one under Trump in his first term. Biden obviously waged war on fossil fuels.
Right.
And, with the pipelines and the Keystone XL pipeline and all of the other pipelines, we are now number one again. So we are now, as you and I speak, the number one producer of oil and natural gas in the world.
So he said 6 months ago, get it down to $2 a gallon. He's got to get that down to $2 a gallon. And the home heating oil, it was paying about $3. It went down to about $2.89, $3. It was paying $3, and then he brought the ships out of Iran, and the barrel went up $10 a gallon. So it shot up 60 cents, Jeff. So if he gets those down, it'll be even better. And in regards to Chris about the overtime, no tax on overtime. He's absolutely right. So you made mention of the fact that sometimes you have to compromise. Did you mention that about the Senate?
Well, no. What I said was that Trump, to be fair to him, he basically said, look, you pay your income tax 40 hours, but after 40 hours, you don't pay a penny in once you start making overtime, you don't pay a penny in extra tax. That includes your full salary on top of the extra overtime that you make, right? Let's say you make $50 an hour. So you're now making $75 an hour as for overtime. Well, what the Congress did was, it was both the House and the Senate. They said, yeah, we're not going to tax the $25 extra that you make when you have overtime, but we're still taxing that initial $50 an hour that you get. And I said, well, to be fair to Trump, he wanted the $75, all of it per hour untaxed. But, he had to make a compromise to get the big, beautiful bill through. That was it. I mean, I would have liked Trump to have held out and fought for more, because I don't think you should pay any tax on overtime. But half a loaf is better than no loaf, as they say, Chris. But please, go ahead.
Yeah,
Sorry, John, my bad. Go ahead, John.
I understand that, Jeff, but the thing is, during the campaign, and I'm happy with him. I voted for him 3 times. I'll vote another 3 times. And Ronnie in Boston, I haven't done my taxes yet, but I'm on a fixed income with Social Security, me and my wife. I'm going to see how that's going to affect it, okay? Usually you try to break even. But he said, what do you mean when it says no tax on Social Security, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime? That means no tax. So why does a Republican president who 77 million people voted for. I didn't vote for John Thune. I didn't vote for Mike Johnson. He should have held firm and said, no, this is the way it's going to be, okay? And the big, beautiful bill, the thing when they extended the Trump tax cuts, that was great. They had to do that, okay? Because remember Biden used to say the Trump tax cuts were awful. Remember that?
Yes.
But he never got rid of them, did he? No, he never got rid of them, okay? Because he knew they were good and would have tanked the economy even more. Okay, so the bottom line is, he never should have compromised with Congress. Okay, so tax on Social Security, no, it should have been 0, okay, the way it's currently constituted. So I'm disappointed in that, but I think it can be even better. He has to get those energy prices down, and I'm paying so it just shot up to $3.79, so we've already lost 2025, and Nick and Weymouth is correct. We've already lost 2025 home heating season, and now we're into the 2026 home heating season. Okay, and the prices have stabilized, but they just shot up again. So it's nothing under Biden. Biden was paying $4.50 a gallon. Okay, which was crazy. I don't know what you have, Jeff. Do you have natural gas? Do you have home heating?
I have electricity and a little bit of natural gas.
Okay, you're screwed. Okay, with electricity.
Yes, I pay a lot. My energy costs are really through the roof.
The cost of, because National Grid and Eversource have to buy their power, and when it was under Trump, you were paying less a kilowatt, okay? So the bottom line is, he talked about $2 a gallon gas at the pump. It goes 260, then it goes back down. And diesel has never come down. The trucker was right. Diesel has never come down. So now we're the number one producer, so now I want to see it. So if people see that, and it is a red state, blue state situation, the only thing good about Massachusetts, and there's not much good about it, okay, is they don't tax your Social Security and they don't tax your federal pension, okay? So other than that, it's terrible.
John, you're right. The only thing I would just add to that, you're right. You're completely right. Don't get me wrong. I have to say the health care here is very good. It really is. I've been using I've had to use health care. The hospitals here are excellent. I have eye specialists because I have glaucoma because of my type 2 diabetes. They really are some of the best in the world. And you got people who drive up. I mean, I see them when I'm at the doctor's office, from Maine, from Vermont, from New Hampshire, from Rhode Island, from Connecticut. So we do have, that's the one thing, we have access to really good quality health care. I'm hoping that Maura Healey doesn't drive them away as well.